sustainability is not always costing more. There is, in the models that we've developed, many things where sustainable solutions are actually cheaper than the non-sustainable solution. So the biggest challenge for them is to mispredict the speed of any transition. If you write too early and put too much capex too early before things are settling, you might lose a lot of money. So a challenge is really to be able to predict the speed and understand the diverging speed. And then we will be in a world of hopefully 2.1 degrees and not to 2.9.
So thank you so much, JC, for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So to start with, I actually want to talk about this year's theme, innovating at scale. So why do you think this theme is so relevant today?
So I'm leading our sustainability practice. And so everything that has to do with climate change is, of course, the core of what I'm doing. And so innovating at scale is absolutely important for us to develop the technologies that will help us to reduce the impact of climate change and to be all living together in a better world. So that is absolutely important for me, the scaling of these technologies.
Mm-hmm. So to elaborate on that, what does it mean, particularly for companies?
So for companies, it means that they need to understand which of those technologies are going to scale and which ones are not. Let me give you an example. Back in 2015, when the Paris Agreement was signed, we made bets on technology scaling 37 different technologies to limit climate change. Out of the 37, only 4 and 5 have actually really scaled. Solar, wind, batteries, electric vehicles, and to some extent, some elements in agriculture. Those have been able to scale 3 or 4 times more than we expected. So for companies, making the bets on those was important. Many technologies have not scaled, like clean fuels. So if they made bets on clean fuels 10 years ago, they will probably not have the return on capital that they wanted.
It's very interesting. It's about making choices. And also, I feel like innovation is moving so fast, but energy transition at the same time is relatively a long-term process, right? So does that create challenges for companies?
It does, because some of these technologies are indeed developing really fast, and so they can change course of things quite quickly. Clean fuels, as I was mentioning, could develop quite fast on some specific applications. But the problem though is oftentimes you need capex for say 10 years. And so if you don't understand really how regulation is going to evolve, how trade barriers and trade flows are going to evolve, you put capex in a place and then things change and you don't get your return on capital employed.
So how do you help companies to make better choices?
So it's impossible for us to fully predict the future, but we've made scenarios on how we believe climate change and a number of technologies will evolve in order to be able to see what the climate changes will be. But more than these scenarios, what is important is with our clients, we are helping them to build conviction on specific technologies, but also to be adaptive and predict. So to adapt if things don't work out the right way, to predict in the right scenarios, and also to be resilient, because unfortunately, as the world will go warmer, we're going to have more weather events. We need robustness, we need resilience in supply chains. And so they need to invest in that resilience.
So based on your expertise and from your experiences, which industry or sectors are more likely to be more ahead in that energy transition and why?
So we've seen the development of renewable, which was really the first wave of development. Now we see a second wave of development around batteries and energy storage. And we will most likely see a development around not just green electrons, but green molecules, so clean fuels. But at what pace and how broad, that is still in the making. But those are 3 very clear developments that we've been watching.
So how do global businesses look at China's role in energy transition today?
So China like Europe and a number of other geographies, don't have fossil fuel. You might say, yeah, you have coal in China, but you want to move away from coal. And so you need your energy independence to come from renewable. And so China has invested and developed a lot on renewable and has a leadership in a whole number of technologies in renewable. And so the world is looking at that saying, this is probably a place where we need to import some of these renewable technologies, but also work together in good partnerships in order to be more and more independent from fossil fuel. But also electric vehicle is another one where the world is looking at China as a place where leadership is being established and where collaboration and cooperation could be done.
Yeah, that brings to my next question, because we all know energy transition is something cannot be achieved by like one company or one country alone. So are there any more specific examples of where do you see opportunities for international cooperation can take place?
No, for sure. So you cannot just say, I'm going to... So we need to move away from the thinking that everyone needs to sort things out and solve climate change in a specific region. We will only be... Climate is a global problem. CO2 emitted covers the whole planet, not one region versus another. So we need to work together on facing these challenges and on decarbonizing our planet. And so it's not one country's important issue, it's a global issue that we need to collaborate on. So we need to develop these technologies, but also apply them internationally. We need the export of electric vehicle. We need the production of electric vehicle to be done in many places. We need many of these technologies to be applied globally.
So many CEOs today are facing multiple priorities actually, because it's a turbulent world and we see like AI, geopolitics, supply chain, sustainabilities. So how should business leaders to balance these priorities?
So that is very important because short term, you just want to optimize for cost, right? But long term, if you don't think about the impact of sustainability on your business, it will have a big problem for your terminal value, for the multiple of your stock price. And so you need to think about these transitions, the energy transition, the mobility transition, the food transition, how climate is going to impact your supply chain for the long-term resilience of your company. So you cannot just focus on the short-term balance P&L. You need also to think about the long-term balance sheet and the terminal value. That's why CEOs need to be able to play with all these balls in the air. They cannot drop one ball.
Sustainability not always means you have cost a lot, right?
No, because renewable, as we were discussing, is sustainable and also cost competitive. We will see electric vehicles. Already today, the total cost of ownership of an electric vehicle can be lower than the one of a combustion engine. So sustainability is not always costing more. There is, in the models that we've developed, many things where sustainable solutions are actually cheaper than the non-sustainable solution. But also, on many things today, they're costing more, but we believe that with experience curve, with adoption curve, they will start to cost less. So eventually, we'll be able to solve, let's say, 2/3 of the marginal abasement curve of a company at a good cost of capital. There still is a third, long-term, that cannot be dealt with at the right cost. And that's where we will have to continue to find regulatory measures to make sure that we decarbonize, even if the business case is not there in the short to medium term.
So what will be the largest challenges companies facing in energy transition, and what will be the better solutions for that?
So the biggest challenge for them is to mispredict the speed of any transition. Because let's be honest, if you ride too early and put too much capex too early before things are settling, you might lose a lot of money. But if you wait too long and you don't see the transition happening and you continue to stick to fossil fuel-based industries in a world that is moving to clean energy, you're going to lose a lot of money as well. So a challenge is really to be able to predict the speed and understand the diverging speeds.
So does AI make it actually harder or easier?
AI can help to predict, and we had a very interesting session today on AI and prediction. But AI can also help you to accelerate a number of technologies so that they go faster to maturity and they are becoming cheaper faster. So that is really where AI needs to be used and be thought of.
So to sum everything up, what do you see as the future direction of the energy transition?
There are scenarios where we perpetuate the current dynamics and we don't accelerate, we don't work together, we have high cost of capital, and we will end up in a world of 2.9 degrees, which for many places, and many of them in Asia, will be unlivable. So I don't wish that future. Or we accelerate these transitions, we work on these new technologies, we invest in them, we work together, not in one country, but across countries, and we maintain the cost of capital for these technologies at an affordable rate. And then we will be in a world of hopefully 2.1 degrees, which is not 1.5, but already 2.1 is way better than 2.9. So I hope we're going to go to a 2.1 degree world and not to a 2.9.
Thank you so much. That's all the questions we have today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your invitation and for your time.